in San Antonio, Texas. This is the Riverwalk. This is the tourist trap facade of this town, but towns like this don't run off tourist traps. They run off people like Alex Martinez, the owner and captain of San Antonio X Factor. So we're here after the Galveston event. We got a chance to spend some time with him and get the story, and it's a very, very fascinating look at a fascinating man and his crew. How long have you been in San Antonio, Alex?
I'm born and raised in San Antonio.
Born and raised in San Antonio?
Yeah. The only time I was away was when I went to college. In the summers, I would do this construction stuff. I would frame houses. My family's not in it. It's something I enjoyed.
So your family wasn't originally in construction, you just ended up doing it?
It just ended up that way. It was just something I enjoyed. It was just always outside, having a good time.
Why was it enjoyable, you think? Like, what was it about it that you thought was cool? Yeah.
The fact that at the end of the day, you can look back and see something finished, I thought that was cool. I thought that was just the shit. And honestly, it might sound a little weird, but pulling up to the job site, seeing what's going on, and then when you're actually cutting and doing all this stuff, and the smell of the wood, and it was something. I think I was put on this earth to do construction and create jobs for people and build houses. I really believe I found what I was supposed to do. And I enjoy it, so that makes us pretty good at it, because we try to real hard to accommodate everything. It's just something I have a passion for it. I just love to build houses. I love to frame houses. But I had left construction for about 3 to 4 years. No, less than that, maybe 2 years. And I always had that passion for it, I always kind of wanted it, so I said, well, you know what, I'm going to go and look at the ads. And I started looking at ads, and I started seeing framer. So I started working. I talked to this guy, and he says, yeah, if you want to work, come on. And I told him, I said, hey, I can only work 30 hours. I can give you Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, sun up to sundown, and half a day on Thursday, and I got to go to work. Because I can't give up Sony, because I'm thinking vacation, insurance, building your future, whatever nonsense, right? And so I started working in construction. Well, 30 hours all of a sudden became 40 hours. I started working, Thursday till 12 o'clock. Well, I worked Thursday all day, and I would go in, I'd get home like at 5 or 6 and sleep for 3 or 4 hours. And then I'd go in at midnight, they'd wake me up and I'd go to work. And then it just became more and more. And then all of a sudden the next day in the morning, I would go to construction. I would leave Sony at 7 in the morning, 7:30, and I would go to construction. And I'd get there at 8, and I'd work from 8 to 12, 8 to 1. And then I'd get home and sleep another 4 hours. So in 3.5 days, I would sleep 12 to 14 hours in those 3 days. And I did that straight for 2 years, day and night. I was working 2 jobs, 40 hours apiece, or in construction sometimes more. And my family all knew. They all knew that you leave, don't call Alex, don't leave him alone on Sundays, he's getting rested and all that other stuff. And my little one, Sean, all he knew that his daddy was always at work, just like that. And I kept working at Sony. And then one day I just said, that's it. Because I was working 12-hour shifts over there, and I knew that if I could put all that time and effort in my own thing, I could, just blow it out of the water. I just knew it. I just knew that I had to do it. It was just something I got to do it. But I gave up a lot. My mom thought I was crazy. But I really believe that sacrifice had to have been there. It just had to have been there for me to be able to be where I'm at. I never thought it was going to be construction. I always thought, okay, I fix my finances, I stay at Sony, right? It's Sony, it's secured, big, huge company, tons of millions, billions of dollars, But the more I continued doing construction, the more I loved it, and the more it was just something I had, it's just something I wanted to do. I thank God that I did it, because I wouldn't be able to afford to do paintball. I wouldn't have a house. I wouldn't have the vehicles that I have. I was able to fund a pro paintball team and do other stuff that I wanted to do, and we've traveled, we've done all kinds of cool stuff, and it's all based on that one decision just stepping out and getting it done. Just do it. And when people say, "Oh, you rich, you got this, you got that," I'm like, wait a minute. I worked 4.5 years, 5 years, day and night. And until you can do that, don't tell me nothing. Because I worked for it. It's not like, my dad or my parent here. It wasn't like that. I built it. I worked hard. So whatever I decide to do with my money or whatever, that's my choice. Because I worked at it. I made it happen. And that's all I tell you. But when people tell me things like that, I just said, look, you can have that. Go work. The guys, when they're complaining to me about their girlfriends and their wives and this, that, and the other thing, I say, hey, one thing, easy, go to work. Because you'll have more money. You can take her out to eat, take care of your kids. She'll take care of you. You take care of her, you take care, and it works. Just go to work. Yeah, 2 years ago in August, Brian goes, Dad, I want to play basketball. I'm like, you want to play basketball? Because we had our own basketball court. I said, let's go to the neighborhood, my old neighborhood, right? So it's a little different over there.
Yeah.
I said, so we started going, we went to the old neighborhood, and we started playing around with some boys there and stuff. And at one jump, man, I jumped up and I kind of spun. And when I landed, I felt something. And it was a sharp pain. I was like, oh. And it got to the point where it felt like my lower half was individually by itself.
Really?
Yeah, that's how it felt. It felt like, oh, like you can grab my top torso and go like that, and my legs would just dangle. Yeah. And that's when I knew. I was like, oh, something's wrong. Something's way wrong. So I called and talked to my doctor, and he got me in, sent me to go do an MRI. And during all this time, I was still playing that season, but I was hurting. I didn't know why. And then at the end in November, when I went, had my MRI, and he puts it up, the doctor puts it up there, and he says, what do you think? I'm like, holy shit, something's up. He goes, yeah, it looks pretty up. I'm like, yeah. And he goes, Alex, it's simple, dude. He goes, you're beyond meds. You're beyond getting cortisone shots in your spine. You're beyond all these other things that I can do for you. It took me 3 weeks afterwards for me to, that was it. I couldn't take it no more. So then I went in and he told me, he goes, that's it. He goes, have you heard of limb foot or drag foot? That's what's going to happen, because your foot's going to go paralyzed. I can't tell you 10 minutes. I can't tell you 10 years, but you're going to go paralyzed. Because you're doing so much nerve damage that you don't know when it's going to happen. And then he said, so what do you want to do? I said, well, what's my option? Because surgery, that's the only option right now.
And you're like, then that's what we're doing.
And then I said, okay, well, when can we do it? And then he goes, well, talk to your family. I said, no, it's just me now. So there's nothing to talk about. And then 2 weeks after I had my MRI, the first time I ever saw it, 2 weeks later, I was on the surgery table. And then and it kind of fell in the right time, because I said, well, let's do it right away. He told me, because you change your lifestyle a little bit, or, what your plans are. He told me no more horse riding, because we used to ride because of Ryan, and no more running on pavement. So, and then I started telling him about paintball and things that I do, and he was like, you need to maybe really reconsider that. And then once I went through the whole process, 8 weeks go by, and I'm driving now, and I'm, this, that, and the other. I was feeling pretty good. I wasn't hurting. And he told me, he goes, it could happen at any time. You don't know. He goes, but just take care of yourself. And then the last visit, he goes, okay, you can do whatever you want. I was like, what? All this time you've been telling me. So you've been, I'm talking about quitting the team, not doing the team anymore. Grayson says, blow it off. Don't worry about it, Al. And because half the guys were gone already. Yeah. Archie was gone. Ryan was gone. So it was a perfect time for me to step out and not worry about it.
Be like, yeah, we're done here. We did it,
We did it. We've done whatever. Dusty was kind of on the way out. And all my main guys, the guys that I grew up, loving them and saying, this is what we do, they were pretty much out. But there was still a handful. There was a couple. Todd, Todd was a part of it, and Grayson was still there, and I started thinking about it, and then Brian started getting in my ear, and it's like, oh, Dad, and I was like, well, and I have the passion for it, and to be honest with you, I didn't want to go out that way. I didn't want X Factor to go out that way.
That's awesome.
I was like, man, we ain't going out on a sour note. Screw that shit.
Yeah.
And I started processing all that stuff where, I built this team. It's the only team in Texas now. Obviously, there's another team, but
it's the best team ever to come out of Texas.
I was like the only team that ever went pro, full-blown pro, and And I did it in a short amount of time, you know.
Real fast.
And I was like, man, I just can't let it go. So I was like, okay, well, I won't play the first event because I couldn't. But then I started playing again. I mean, the real reason I started the team was just obviously my oldest son, Sean. In 2003, the son, Sean, comes home and he says, Dad, I want a paintball party. I was like, what's paintball? And he goes, oh man, you know Ryan Cohen, you know Brett Cohen, they live right down the street, my friends, and this, that, and other thing. We were in their backyard shooting paintball guns, and I want a paintball party. And the guys say, you can play. And I'm like, what? These are little kids, I'm not gonna play with them. And he goes, no, seriously, you can play with them. And I'm like, oh. And then my son's, come on, Dad, and all his friends, come on, Dad. And I'm like, dude, I don't know, I don't want to hurt anybody. And he's like, no, you can't hurt them. You know, he goes, everybody's got paintball guns. He goes, on the flip side, they're probably going to want to shoot you more than you shoot them. So they convinced me, and it didn't take a whole lot to convince me. So I was like, all right, cool. So we started playing. And from that moment, dude, we were hooked. It was just instant. I mean, it was just hooked.
My name's Colt Roberts. We're here at my work in Cool Air AC Company. We're in the sheet metal shop. This is where they fabricate all kinds of metal ductwork for the air conditioning business. Well, Texas is a weird animal in itself. It's just everything's so spread out. It's a huge state. There's tons of people, but the distance from A to B is a lot larger than in, say, meccas like of paintball like California. It's a little better established there, and you already have 3 or 4 teams that are pro in the local area. So naturally, you either adapt and overcome or you wash out. So if you're playing against the best players in the world all the time, you can't help but groom up a much better population. Here in Texas, it's like, even now it's kind of scary. We don't have a local tournament scene. So if I look who's going to replace me in 5 years, I couldn't tell you. And it's sad, and we're going to try and work on that. We're going to try and start doing a lot more clinics, do more local tournaments. We got to groom the next generation. Because like you said, right now, X Factor is all there is. There's a team out of Houston called VCK that's pretty good, but they've been kind of playing in the divisional ranks this whole time and haven't really broken through.
What about Houston Heat?
Houston Heat's not from Texas, so I mean, I don't consider that a Texas team. They're as much of a Texas team as Red Legion was a Boston team, so it's just one of those things. They may have a moniker of a city, but they're not a Texas team. X Factor is the really only pro Texas team there is. Alex is the X Factor. I mean, as you know, we haven't really done the best lately, and with success comes sponsorship, and obviously with lack of success comes lack of sponsorship. So he's pretty much funding the team. I mean, he spends, I don't even want to throw the number out there, but an exorbitant amount of money on the team each year, and so Alex is kind of Papa Bear. He kind of keeps the whole thing going, and without Alex, there would be no X Factor. I'm kind of at a point in my life. I'll be 30 this year. It's kind of that time. It's really going to depend on whether I want to have a family or not, because if I decide I want to have a family, I'll probably be done with it. I don't think I'll ever be completely done, but as far as playing and actually putting in all the practice and hours it takes to stay at this level, I just can't imagine doing it and be that far away. But I don't think I'll ever be completely out of paintball. I love it. I'll coach, I'll do clinics, I'll do whatever, and I'll always play, just maybe not at this level.